What is an estate plan and what is it for? Now, I'm going to simplify things. It's to provide direction for your stuff, and we're going to talk about what stuff is, and process by which that direction is able to be facilitated by the people that you trust that are helping you with your estate plan. This applies when you're too sick or what's called incapacitated, you're not able or willing to do things on your own, and after you get your, what I like to call promotion, after you pass away, so that your stuff goes where you want it to go. The key with the estate plan, regardless of how complicated your estate might be, is direction and process while you're alive and where your stuff is going to go afterwards. When you say estate planning, what does estate mean?
In the legal context, an estate means all your stuff. It's everything you own, your home, your clothes, the stuff in your house, your car, your bank account, your retirement account, any account or asset you own is your estate. That's what we mean by estate planning. When people think of an estate, they think of a big house or a mansion on lots of acres behind a big iron fence. And unfortunately, that confuses it with what we mean by estate planning. In the legal context, estate planning and estate is everything you own. That's your car, the stuff in your house or apartment, your bank account, your retirement account, basically everything you own. So if you have a big mansion, that's part of your estate. But if you just have a home that is on 1 acre, that's part of your estate.
So what is estate planning?
Estate planning is a legal process to take care of people and their property when they can't do it themselves, either because they're incapacitated or they're deceased.
And so how does that, tell me how that process works. You gave the example of a child and then an adult. Tell me about that.
Well, once we turn 18, under our system of laws, this is so fundamental that we don't even think about it, but once we turn 18, no one else can make decisions for us. If I'm 17 and I need to go to the doctor and have surgery, the doctor has to ask my parents if he can do the surgery, and they have the right to give legal consent. But once I turn 18, no one else can make my medical, personal, legal, or financial decisions for me, which is what we want when we turn 18. We don't want to be under the thumb of our parents. And as we go through adulthood, this is all great. No one can make our decisions for us. Now, if you're married, you have to consult with your spouse and things like that. So this is good, but it becomes a problem if something bad happens to us. Either there's a bad accident when we're younger, it could be in our 20s, 30s, 40s, or just where we tend to see it is when people become elderly. An 80-year-old may have dementia, they don't know what they own anymore and aren't paying their bills. If they don't have an estate plan in place, that's when the problem occurs, because someone just can't come in and take over their accounts. We don't want anyone to be able to do that. So the law has a set of procedures in place to deal with those problems. And there's one set of procedures that the state puts in place. If there's not an estate plan in place, it's not necessarily the best solution to the problem. So estate planning is you yourself taking the bull by the horns and putting a plan in place to deal with these potential situations that are going to affect all of us one way or the other.
Who needs an estate plan? Everyone already has an estate plan, even if you have nothing, because the state is going to determine where your stuff is going to go. They have rules already, and if you decide, there's multiple different levels of doing the estate planning. Everyone needs an estate plan, and everyone has one, even if their default is created by the state.
Everyone needs an estate plan at some point in their life. Even an 18-year-old, since once they turn 18, no one else can make their medical decisions for them, they at least need to appoint someone to be their patient advocate. Otherwise, there could be a probate court guardianship. But people are most interested in this usually when they have children, and as they get older, when they've accumulated accounts and assets. People tend to think of estate planning as what happens when I die, which is a big part of it. But the most important part is what happens if I myself am incapacitated and can't make my own decisions, if I can't handle my money or tell the doctor what kind of treatment I need.
If I'm married, can't my spouse just make decisions for me?
Well, if you're married, people may think their spouse is making all their decisions for them. But
it feels like my spouse is making all my decisions for me.
People often feel that their spouse is, in some cases, making all their decisions for them. But here's why incapacity is a problem even for married couples. Let's say we have a married couple that bought a home back in the 70s. when they were in their 40s or 50s, and now it's 2017, they're in their 80s. One of them has dementia, and let's say it's the husband, and the wife feels they need to move to a retirement community or assisted living. They don't need this big house anymore that they raised their children in. So when they bought the house back in the 70s, both their names are on the deed. When it comes time to sell the house, they both need to be able to sign the deed. The deed is the document that transfers the title of the home to the new buyer. So if the husband has dementia and he doesn't know what's going on, he doesn't have the legal capacity to sign his name, or in some cases people just can't actually sign their name. So in that situation, even though it's a married couple and they own an asset jointly, the wife, if there's not an estate plan in place, the wife might have to go to probate court to get authority to sell their home, which would make a stressful situation even worse and more expensive.
The short answer is everyone already has an estate plan, whether you pick it, you write it up, you create it with an attorney, or you default to the state's estate plan for you. The state has prearranged a method of getting your stuff where it belongs if you're not able to make decisions on your own, and once you pass away, to be able to get it to where their default mode is for it to belong if you haven't done anything in advance. Now, this happens. I would not recommend it at all. It's oftentimes very expensive. It can end up in the wrong hands. It can be expensive to go through the court process. But the answer to the question is, who needs an estate plan? Everyone. No matter if you have a giant estate with all kinds of stuff, multiple homes, multiple businesses, collectors, cars, and all kinds of different stuff, or if you just have this tiny little apartment with maybe a cat and some clothes and some old furniture, everyone needs an estate plan.